How do we do it? Do we jump like Fragile?
No. The beach goes the whole way. We run. Together.
Run?
Yeah. Like Mario and Princess Beach.
Welcome to Between the Joysticks. Press start and then we're off. Nick and John, they've got the sauce. Breaking news and some hot takes. Even if there's some mistakes, Nick is captaining the ship, while John gives thoughts straight from the hip. But when their powers combine, we're all in for a hell of a time. Between the Joysticks, it's the best. Up to 6 things they will address. Tell all your friends and settle in. Between the Joysticks now begins.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 137 of the video game podcast Between the Joysticks. I'm your host, Nick, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, John. John, it's a new week and a new day. How are you feeling today?
A new dawn.
Yeah, new dawn.
Yeah, par for the course. Pretty average.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't
well,
know.
Open up. What's going on?
Tigers just lost.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So I was, I probably if they won their 6th game in a row, I would have probably been all bubbly and stuff for you. But no, it's okay. Just lose the fucking Yankees. But I don't know. Other than that,
Silver lining, they won the series. So
they won the series. The boys showed up. They didn't go quietly into the night and put up a fight in the 9th. But this is probably the last thing most of our listeners want to hear about. So I don't know, man. I'm good. How are you? How's life? How's that liquid death treating you?
It's good. Liquid Death's great.
Yeah.
Okay. How's yours?
I've always listen. Everybody who's ever drank pop in the history of the world, they have friends who don't, and they go try LaCroix, and I try LaCroix, and I go nah, not really for me. And then they go try this thing, and like it's about the same. And then so the liquid death people, it's like this is gonna be the same thing. It has to be.
No, it's
Sparkling water can't be different from one another.
It very much is, and if we want to become a sparkling water podcast,
this is a Crystal Light family over here.
That's what I was going to make fun of next, because John is always drinking Crystal Light on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Let's also
we're
be
healthy.
Real. Regular water sucks.
I mean, we should be eating Doritos and drinking Mountain Dew like our like a typical gamer.
It's like when I'm like Batman. I do that at night.
Oh my God, no, you don't. Do you? Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. Are you kidding me?
The snacking, I know for sure. You drink Mountain Dew at night though?
If it's in the house, I'm very much one of those. Like if it's in the house, I'm going to succumb to it. It's like at work we had a little shindig last week, and people brought in a bunch of pop and chips and hot dogs, and I can't resist.
Yeah,
can't resist.
I know.
But overall, still down like 30 pounds compared to where I was last year. So.
That's good. That's good. I'm just saying, if you want to give up pop like I did,
Crystal Light,
Liquid Death,
Crystal Light,
or Crystal Light, it's fine. But Liquid Death, if you want the carbonation,
sure.
Liquid Death.
Liquid Death. Sponsor us.
And yeah, right. And it has the carbonation, so I mean, you get the same effect. So, because that's why I started drinking it, is I wanted to give up pop. So,
and I don't think I've seen you drink a pop in quite a while. I've seen you slip in energy drinks every once in a while, so I know you get them.
I do.
You get those
I do drink that every morning right now, so I gotta change that up. But
we can't all be perfect.
The problem with the energy drink thing is it just is like a positive thing. Like it's something I look forward to. Like my commute in, listen to a podcast, and drink my energy drink, and it's just like.
And there's a noticeable like feel to you, right? Like, oh, I feel energized and awake, as opposed to if I miss it, then I'm like mad I didn't have it, and also why am I so tired?
Right,
so
exactly.
It's almost like caffeine is addictive.
Yeah. So I can't quite get there. Maybe if I get like John in shape one day.
Yeah, let's not go that far.
Yeah, because that'll never happen.
For me or you?
For me.
Oh.
Maybe I can give up energy drinks. I do want to give them up as well, but
listen, man, treat yourself.
When there are positive enforcement in my life, and they don't have the sugar that pop. I can't. I need the sugar in the pop to enjoy it, but then it makes me feel like shit. So, I found the sweet spot with Liquid Death and then Monster Zero Sugar energy.
If we have any teenage listeners out there, appreciate your bodies right now, my friends. It won't always be as good as it is right now.
Yeah. I was just having that same conversation earlier with an older coworker.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, in between, there's some, like, what is a list of games that actually tell you to stop playing after so many hours?
There's a decent amount that do it.
Yeah.
I just quickly ignore it. Don't tell me what to do. Or
You don't control my life.
Or my TV, I don't know if your TV does this, but like every once in a while, it'll just be like, you should switch to comfort vision mode. It's like, no. Don't tell me.
I mean, we'll talk about it later. I know Death Stranding is one of them. It was like maybe
you want.
he's taking a break, and maybe you should take one too.
I feel like Pokemon would do that.
I think Animal Crossing will do it to you.
Okay. All the chill games.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that next week. We'll look up a list of them
and
talk about it. But yeah, it's funny that video game. Don't tell me to exercise.
Let's see. Not time sensitive. Yeah, we'll figure it out for next week.
But we have a lot to talk about on the show, John, including following up on the Switch 2 stuff that we did our
Lots of
hot
Switch
takes.
2 stuff. Yeah. It almost seems like it's like a hotter topic now than it was last week. In a way.
Yeah, I think it is. So unless you got something, we can get into the show.
Nah.
All right, this is how the show works. John and I can both bring up to 3 things to talk about for a total of 6 things. It can be a video game we're playing, a topic, a news item, anything we feel like bringing, but it can also be an email from you, the listener. That email address is betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. We will get to an email today in the show. It could be a Twitter DM at joystickspod or be a comment on our YouTube page. We're still looking for that negative comment for John. We really want someone to take him to task, so leave a comment there. That YouTube page is Between the Joysticks. And yeah, let's kick things off with just a follow-up to the whole Nintendo Switch 2 discussion from last week. Obviously, we have processed all the information. There's more information out there. There's this small geopolitical thing going on that's affecting everything. But yeah, there are a lot of things to talk about. So where do you want to start, John? I do have a list of things if you want me to go first.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead and you know me. If you just let me go off, I'm gonna rant or something. So just keep me under control.
So yeah, as listeners know, I see John a lot during the week, and one of the interesting things of the week was John's turnaround on his feelings about the Switch 2.
Little flip.
Last week he was saying, "I'm definitely getting one. I'm of course getting one. I'm all excited for Dust Bloods." So let's just start there. What is turning around your mood? What is the list of things? I know Dust Bloods is one of them. Mm-hmm. Do you want to start there, or do you want to start with the pricing?
Well, I mean, I think we can kind of we'll pick at starting with Dusk Bloods because that's like a physical thing.
Because that was your big driver for wanting this thing.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I am a tried and true From Software guy. I've played every release that they've had
for now.
For now, since Demon Souls. Like I was even one of those guys. I wear it like a slight badge of honor that I got Demon Souls before Dark Souls was even a thing. I think that's not a lot of people can say that.
No.
And so
you got in before it was cool.
Exactly. I recognized it for what it was because I have taste. But so Dusk Bloods, obviously a From Software exclusive coming to Switch 2 was like, well, I'm not going to miss a From Software game, so I have to get this thing. Unfortunately, a lot of the details of the game have come out, and while it's sounds like it's going to be high quality, it's not going to be a miss from FromSoft in terms of the games they make. It's just simply very much not what I am looking for from a gameplay standpoint. It's championed as a PvPvE 8-player type of extraction game, right? Where you go in, you're competing against other players, you're killing monsters, gaining currencies or scores or whatever. You can kind of get more points if you take down like a world boss, or I think even more if you can conquer another live player. But it's simply not what I am looking for. Like, I want a campaign, I want a start, I want a list of bosses I have to get through, I want to just do it by myself if need be, and so it just turns me off to the point where it's like, okay, so I don't need to play that at least immediately, right? I think there's still an absolute world that this game comes to other consoles and things later on. And so if it does turn out that it's this thing that's like, look, there is a single player component to it, maybe it's not designed around it, but it's still worthwhile. Like, I'll still want to get my hands on it, but it's not going to make me purchase a console. So that's like, we're going to use that as launch point number 1. Launch point number 2, I think, is, You mentioned the geopolitical state of the world, right? So the big drama that kind of happened shortly after the announce of this console was, Nintendo slated April 9th as the pre-order date. That's actually the day we're recording right now, to try to start getting your hands on this thing. Well, certain man by the name of Donald Trump, is trying to play havoc with the world's economy. We're not going to get into political conversation. I'm not a fan of his. That we'll just leave it at that. But there's a real world conversation happening of raising the price on this thing again. And is there a big difference between $450 and what it might ultimately cost? It might not even go up. There's a real world where that can be the same thing. But it's enough of a conversation to kind of make me question. It seems silly. It's starting to seem silly, right? Where I kind of have to start checking myself and evaluating myself. So it's like, okay, the thing's going to be even more expensive. Okay, that's not a great check mark. There's not going to be any games at launch that I really want to play. I'm not a Mario Kart guy. It was more just to get my hands on one because I know with scalpers and the way that the PS5 was and with the uncertainty of the world right now just from shipping and tariffs and geopolitical relationships, it might be hard to get my hands on one, and I'm going to want one. But again, I just kind of, somebody at work asked me, so what are you going to play when it comes out? And I was like, that's like nothing, I guess. So I just, kind of started, anytime a new console is announced, a new game, we all get excited, right? I am a fanboy. So I right off the heels of it, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Whatever. I'm not going
to start describing the new console cycle, and you're at the start. You're at the enthusiasm part.
Yep, and I don't know what phase 3 is, but I'm there. Where it's just like
the stress part. I think the anxiety and stress of getting a new console. We experienced it with the PlayStation 5 together. Famously, it was a special invite, and then I got in the queue before you or after you, but somehow got to the purchase spot before you, and then you were like 20 minutes behind me.
Right.
And it would have been a shitty feeling for both of us if I got one and you didn't.
There's probably going to be some
or if we didn't get one at all.
Right, yeah. So many variables, right? So many different outcomes. Or maybe with this one, it's like I would want the Mario Kart bundle. It's like, well, actually that's sold out. Do you want the regular? Do you want the regular one? I'd be like, no, not really. But then I'm here, and so I guess so I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and that's from people that didn't have to experience the I'm refreshing Amazon pages and Best Buy stores to see it go on sale just for it to sell out immediately. Getting new consoles is not a great experience.
No, and
typically.
I can, I've gone through enough console launches to I know the cycle. It's like, the box comes, I have it in my hands, it's great. You open it up, it's new tech, it feels good, it feels clean, all that amazing stuff. But it's. What am I just gonna boot up Tears of the Kingdom and just use my little phone app, which would be fun to go through the game with a map kind of right next to me and track everything a little bit better. And
do you want to explain that more? Because we missed out that the enhancement to the Zelda games includes this app.
Yeah, so Nintendo put a lot of stock into kind of having a companion piece with you in the form of an app on your phone that kind of works as a
They love their apps right now, by the way. There's a Nintendo Music app and now a Nintendo News app.
Yeah, it never feels good when you announce an app for it. But for this specific use case, I'm kind of down with it. But it's like an interactive, adaptive map that kind of goes along with you with the journey to track everything you've collected, shows you where different things are, so you can kind of navigate the world if you're not looking to just explore every nook and cranny and try and find, organically the 900 Korok seeds is going to help you out a bit, which is the type of experience that I want when I'm playing something as big as a Tears of the Kingdom, a Breath of the Wild, especially Tears of the Kingdom, because it's overwhelming enough to explore Hyrule, but let alone the underground and the above ground, or in the sky rather. So, it's all these kind of things adding into one another that just kind of make me go, you know what? If the price comes down, right, if the tariffs are not a big thing, because about an hour from us recording now, he paused the tariff, and that shot all the markets back up. Maybe Nintendo's going back and reevaluating again. But it just, so much uncertainty, so much kind of I can't genuinely think of us. If I was a huge Mario Kart guy, I think I'd still be on, but I'm not.
Right.
and
I think your best reason right now is like what the Christmas thing you were talking about. Like, what if I just get this thing and then I just leave it in the box until Christmas time, and then and then give it to my son?
yeah, and I haven't had that. That's a great point. Like that could be a valid thing to do for him, because like he doesn't give a shit. He'll play Fortnite on the thing, and it is what it is.
You have the peace of mind that I have the new thing. It's going to be the
now your turn. See, this is the problem of my brain, is it's so easily persuaded.
Well, if you do that route, I think you should bring it in and we play with it, and then we have to like carefully rebox it up. Like
Package it back up.
It was never.
Kids are so excited Christmas morning anyway. They don't know. I gave Levi. Don't listen to this when you're older. I gave Levi a pre-owned Switch too. He never knew from whatever. He just opened it and go cool. So yeah, it's a bummer, because then there's also little things like Hades 2 is a Nintendo Switch exclusive game. Thanks, guys. Like, and you've talked about it. We've talked about it. I did it with the first one, so it kind of makes sense. I just was really hoping with the success of the first one that wouldn't have been a thing again. So it's like, all right, like, but I'm not going to spend $500 just to play Hades 2 a year early. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get that platinum on the PlayStation, so I might as well. And it is what it is.
We don't know what the turnaround time. We're just going off what the first game was. It was about
it was 11
year,
months,
for it to come to other consoles. And I hate, and thinking about this more, I hate talking about this, because I know as a PlayStation fan, PlayStation is like the worst perpetrator of locking up these exclusives.
Yeah, we are.
So when this happens, I'm just like, fuck. But yeah, and you're talking about a game, our most anticipated, that now is a 2026 game at the least for us. So
yeah, at the very least. But that's it is what it is. So yeah, I think I'll just hang out, and there's also the very real possibility that I'm not the only one that has these feelings, right? I imagine there's a lot of people out there right now that are Switch owners now that are going, maybe I'll wait, which will alleviate the markets a little bit. I still think this thing is going to sell out like crazy when it first hits the market, but I don't know if it'll have that same crazy legs where you just like that the PS5 had. Like, Nintendo's going to know up front. I imagine they had a larger than normal order size at the front end of this thing because they knew it would be crazy. And so it's going to it'll be put my feet there.
Mario Kart will do a great job of
of
getting that initial, and of course the hardcore will always buy in right at launch. But but that will lead me kind of like to the next part of what I wanted to briefly touch on is, right, the Switch 2 is launching with these big 2 Switch exclusives, right?
Yes.
Between Donkey Kong and Mario Kart, but that's like your initial lead in. You need your big fall games. And right now, those 2 fall games are Kirby Air Riders, which I'll put in quotes because we saw like 2 seconds of the game. So
also kind of
right, and and we'll get into that. But Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment is also listed as a Switch 2 only game. So I mean, is that enough to keep appetites satiated through the rest of this year?
That no, but if you throw in Prime, yes. Metroid Prime.
Yeah, well, I was saying Switch 2 only games because to your point that you just made, is it enough to convince people to upgrade, right? Like, you can play Metroid Prime on your OG Switch. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it'll run better, but like you said, if it's a hassle to get one, spend $450+ plus what these Switch 2 enhanced games are costing, which we'll get into next. Maybe you just say I'll just play the games on Switch 1 and not. Then this fall software lineup isn't strong enough.
Maybe. I don't know. I think that the amount of people that are looking for the fall release title that they want, and if it's Metroid Prime, those are the same type of people that are going to want to Switch to, or that at the very least I don't think would settle for experiencing that on the Switch 1, right? Like because I view myself as one of those. I've never played Metroid Prime, but I love Metroid. I have a newfound love. That's really not newfound at all, but I love Metroidvanias. And so I want to get my hands on Prime and see what it's all about. There's not a world that I pay that I buy that game on Switch 1. There's no chance. So and maybe there are some people, but I think that Nintendo will, whenever it is marketed, it will be like, look, like this is, yes, you can play it on Switch 1, but we're not even going to really bother with that one. It's going to show you the mouse control thing that it can do. It's going to show you the 120 frames at 4K or whatever they promised.
Yep.
And so I think that it will really, in the mind's eye of the consumer, I think it'll be much more of a Switch 2 type experience. Sure. So I think and that was, sorry, I think that's what thought you were trying to lead me into, is that like I think the fall, despite what I texted you the other day, because I sent that text about the 3D Mario game.
Right.
I was like, I don't really think that. Why did I say that? Where, there's rumors that this 3D Mario still could slot in the fall. I don't think so. I think Prime is earmarked for that. They don't want to date it because I think that is a type of game that could get not fucked by Grand Theft Auto, but they don't want to be near it, so they're not going to date it.
Right.
It's in the fall somewhere, and that'll fill out their year. And
when you do include Switch 1 games, now Pokemon is another game that's coming out this fall as well.
Oh yeah,
so,
that's a big one.
So they do have games. I'm just in the mindset of, are they enough to say I want to Switch 2 to play these games?
Yeah.
And the only 2 Switch 2 game exclusives aren't very big right now.
Despite everything I just said about Metroid, Pokemon's a great. That is one that I can see people just give me the Switch 1 version. That's fine. Like I could see that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and as we've talked about with Nintendo franchise, Metroid, as much as John is saying how much he loves it, not a big franchise for Nintendo.
Nope.
In comparison. So
no, probably like the 4th or 5th biggest franchise in the mind's eye of the public, but like 25th in terms of sales for their console. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, they have their fans and they're very passionate, and I'm one of them. I think
and we know the biggest one there is. Sorry. I don't mean to. There's just a guy we know at work. Never mind. Continue.
Who has an actual Metroid on his desk?
Sure does. I'm looking at it right now. It's sticky. I don't know why.
But continuing on the future of Nintendo and video games, how do you feel about the future of Nintendo's third-party ports? They did a big push, right? But if games like Elden Ring and Cyberpunk are running at 30 frames per second on the Switch 2, and these are, well, Elden Ring's not as old, but Cyberpunk's 4 years old, 5 years old at this point. Probably by the time it comes out, will a Nintendo platform have that same stigma? It's for Nintendo games and indie games, nothing else.
I think
and you're going to get a Mortal Kombat 1 situation where it's just a garbage port on Switch, and that's going to start happening as we continue on to these bigger and better games. I know, like they announced Borderlands 4 for this thing. That is a pretty big deal. Right. That's a big fall game, but do you think there is, and Star Wars Outlaws was another one that I was surprised to see. But is there a future of third-party games succeeding on the Switch?
So I think, first off, I think Cyberpunk has been confirmed at 40 frames, which is interesting.
It has performance mode.
It's got 2? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you will see a very similar trajectory to the Switch one with this. I think despite, I saw some analytics on the power of this thing, and it's much closer to the current gen than it is to the PS4 gen. But as this generation goes on and gets more powerful and the developers get better at it, it's going to start to leave that one behind too. So I think right now, great idea. Get all these publishers of all these last-gen games, get people excited, but you're going to start to see them fall off in terms of third-party support. At what point, I don't know, but it's just there will be a power discrepancy that will be very apparent at some point.
Right.
That I think, you'll see a lot. We obviously saw a lot with the announcement of the console itself, but we'll see that for probably about a year or two, I would say. And then as the wells dry up of games from last generation or even games from this generation that are a little more technically easy to bear, you'll start to see that dry up a little bit, I think.
Okay. All right. And then finally, we did briefly talk about pricing last week. It does seem that in the U.S. right now that the digital price matches the physical price. So a physical copy of Mario Kart World is $80. On the other hand, though, these Switch 2 enhanced games, some of them are also $80, including Tears of the Kingdom, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Mario Party Jamboree, those big games. And then for some reason, Breath of the Wild is a $70 game as well.
Yeah.
How are we feeling? Any difference than last week?
No, it still doesn't feel good. I mean,
And I know we're gonna go, and maybe it's time we could just go right into the email if you want.
yeah, it applies. So yeah, let's do that.
But is there anything else you had thought wise on the Switch too at this point?
No, I mean, the conversation over the past week has been all price. Everybody's, very upset about that, and we'll get into it with this email here in a little bit. But I guess it sucks. It sucks. I never want to have to pay more for games. But I also do agree with this sentiment and I had the same sentiment when the games went up from 60 to 70, and I apologize if this doesn't fit your worldview or your economic reality, but it is, I think, worth being said, is that if the difference between a $70 game and an $80 game is enough for you to question, I don't know, if you're going to buy something or not, it's probably not something you should be buying in the first place. And I know that, and I'm just saying from an economic reality,
Right, and I think the internet likes to overreact. Mm-hmm. Well, not like they do. But I do think it's just the death of a thousand cuts, right? If you're if whatever you budget for video games a year is just it's going to eventually lead to one less game or one less indie game, because your money's going to this. So maybe you're like, I spent $80 on Mario Kart World. I'm not going to get Hades 2 at launch. I'm going to wait a little bit because I had to spend more money on this game. Mm-hmm. So I think, like you said, I think if you're looking at the Mario Kart World and saying I can't buy it because of $10 price difference, that's weird to me to say. Yeah, because it's just $10. That's a cup of coffee or whatever the current joke is.
Don't get your avocado toast. Whatever they always say.
Yeah. But I do think in the long run, like I said, it adds up.
I think this is a perfect jumping point to get into the email.
Let's go into the email
because we'll be able to discuss it a little bit in more depth. But
what's that email address, John?
At betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. You too can write in and do whatever Nick says every time he says these things. But from our boy Freddie B, he wrote in with a beefy one. So sit back, Nick, grab a cup of coffee, put your feet up. We're gonna read through this bad boy.
I'm saving it for Switch games.
You're good at this. I like that. Good joke. All right, so from Freddie B, hey guys. With the Nintendo Switch 2 announcement and the sneaky announcement that games are going to cost $80 to $90, I think we need to talk about game pricing. This is a long one, but I'll do my best. Games are not underpriced at all. The issue, in my opinion, are inflating costs and corporate greed. I know what you're thinking right now. Freddie, inflating costs mean developers have to charge more, but I'm going to throw some facts your way. Spider-Man Miles Morales' estimated cost of $156 million sold 10.2 million copies, equaling a revenue of at about $600 million. If we use movie multiples that a game needs to make 2.5 to 3 times to be profitable, this game is profitable. Freddie's referring to marketing, advertising costs, things like that usually get involved in these equations. Spider-Man 2, estimated cost of $300 million, sold about 11 million copies, putting revenue anywhere from $650 million to $700 million. Now, we can all agree there are a lot of reused assets in Spider-Man 2, so the question is how did their development cost double when we know they reused assets? Did the studio double in size at that time? Probably not, if we're being honest. Right now, they're estimated to have between 200 and 500 developers. If we average their salaries at $150K per year, that's only $78 million, which is half of the supposed doubling in costs. I have more examples. Zelda Breath of the Wild sold 34 million copies, estimated revenue $2 billion. I can't find the hard numbers anywhere, but Tears of the Kingdom estimated sales are 20 million copies as of last year. Estimated revenue is somewhere about $1.4 billion. Again, they reused an enormous amount of assets. Did they truly incur costs that warranted increasing the base game price from $60 to $70? These are sequels, though, I know, so here are some standalones. Hogwarts Legacy, estimated budget $150 million, 34 million copies sold, revenue $2 billion. Elden Ring, we don't have an estimated budget, but let's use $150 million per the previous example. 28 million copies sold, revenue anywhere from $1 billion to $1.5 billion. Palworld budget about $7 million, 15 million copies sold. I can't determine a true revenue number, but even if each copy were $10, that puts the revenue at about $150 million. Now, This is just a quick email. I could go into longer examples with researched info, but I think the call for increasing game prices has less to do with rising costs and more with developers wanting to subsidize their costs for releasing subpar products. Concord, The Avengers, Suicide Squad, Dragon Age, Skull and Bones, Star Wars Outlaws, Total War, Pharaoh, Alone in the Dark, all maybe not bad, but not great games. They're trying to pass their costs onto the consumer for their failures. I worry that with Switch 2 price increases, we are creating an environment where we have another video game recession like the 80s. And then there's a too long didn't read. If you don't read this on there, blah, blah, blah. Thank you so much, Freddie B. Freddie, thank you for the email, the time you put in to write that. That's awesome. Good stuff. Nick, what are your thoughts? What do you think, buddy boy? Where to start? What do you want to pull at?
Yeah, I do I like how we referred to it as the sneaky announcement.
Yeah.
I don't think that got by anybody though.
No. People were there immediately when they saw that.
But maybe, yeah, it depends how you take a look at this. And the reality is, and I don't know if you've been watching Kyle Bosman. I know you've been.
I watched his one he did last week.
Yeah, where he said like, you know, we all know what this really means, and that is that all games are going to be 80, and which is what I agree to. It goes to Yote will be an $80 game. I won't don't quote me on that, but you know, I wouldn't be shocked, you know, if like they're like, oh yeah, we can charge 82 now for our premium first party games. But yeah, I mean. His numbers aren't wrong, right? That successes make you tons of money. That's why the video game industry exists, right? Like, it's a creative medium, and when you hit big, you can be like Fortnite and be this crazy company. I know you listed all the misses, but misses are huge too. You know, Suicide Squad was Rocksteady didn't have a game in 10 years. Yeah. And that game failed. What was the budget for that game? It had to have been insane.
Yeah, I think they said around 300 million. I think. You know,
like so, and then inflation, of course, is another fun thing that you know what a dollar is now is not what a dollar was 20 years ago, and video games are under inflation. But I mean, to be honest, I feel what he's saying, right? Like, look how much money they're making. It's frustrating that games are going to be more expensive again, and this could lead to less people buying games. I don't think so. I think there'll be other factors, Fortnite, games like those leading to people not buying games. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of getting into these numbers because the video game industry is so secretive. They don't, even though even these publicly traded companies, you know, they don't go out and say, well, this is how much we spend on personnel. This is how much we spend on marketing. We had to reboot the game 10 times before it was released, and now we're here at the final product. And this, you know, it's like, it's just frustrating. It's like and then no developers can speak because they all sign NDAs, right? Because they can't talk about the games they made, and it sucks for game developers when their game doesn't release or gets canceled. Another thing we don't hear about, you know, we'll hear the rumors about, oh, Sony Bend was making a live service God of War game, and it got canceled, but. Yeah, we don't really know much more than that. We don't know the cost, how much money they sunk into it, and stuff like that. And yeah, I do think big wins, like a Hogwarts Legacy, pays for the failure of a Suicide Squad. You know,
right?
Warner Brothers makes that money, but
yeah, I mean, because Warner Brothers had Hogwarts Legacy, and they've still probably gone through the worst year of anybody right now. They're in a mess.
Right. So I hate getting into these numbers because it's hard to prove, right? It's hard to like really lock it down, and everyone just estimates off of, you know, Steam sales and all that. And I know you made this point. I'll give credit to John that games don't sell at full price through their lifetime.
Right. You
know, there's sales. They go down steeply down in price. You know, we always joke about the Ubisoft. You know, Assassin's Creed Shadows will probably be $30 by this summer, and that'll help sell a lot of copies. So. But I feel his frustration. I definitely do. I don't want to pay this increase.
Yeah.
I will because that's what people will do. That's what everyone will do. Grand Theft Auto will come out at 80 and we'll all pay it, and it'll be worth it. But yeah, it hurts.
Yeah.
It's more like the deep cuts we were talking about. I think I'll just I think subscription services will look more and more appealing to back up these purchases, because then all these games you're waiting on, you can just play on these subscription services.
Yeah, I think Freddie, a lot of things can be true at the same time. I'm not disputing your math or anything here, but there is something to be said, right? You include that the average salary of a employee at Insomniac's $150K, right? And that's probably a good jumping off point, but like, does that consider the office space that Insomniac has to pay? That you look at rental properties over the past couple years, like you just have to go on Reddit and see like, my rent went from $1,200 to $2,600. What am I supposed to do? You didn't, mention employees' benefits, right? Their medical coverage, things like that. So all these things you need to be able to, you need to think about, but I also think it can, so all that's true, but I also do very much side with you in the corporate greed angle. I think corporate greed is the biggest pie of all this. However, this is what companies do.
Welcome to capitalism.
Welcome to how it is, where it's just the term fiduciary duty is a company's responsibility to their shareholders, to the people that have invested in them, to do the thing that is in the best interest of those supporters, right? And so if a company looks at a data sheet and says, look, we can sell Mario Kart for $70 and we'll make X money, or we can sell Mario Kart for $80 and we know based on our telepathy and our history that we will make more money that way. Unfortunately, that's where it is. I'm not trying to defend them. I'm not trying to say that that's the moralistic correct thing that we should be doing. I simply am a realist. And so that's the kind of things that go into this equation. And I know you kind of said, it has less to do with rising costs and more to do with developers wanting to subsidize their cost for releasing subpar products. Again, I think both of those things can be true. Inflation is a very real thing. Look at the price of a Big Mac 10 years ago. And so I know you probably had these thoughts in your head when you were writing this email and you considered those things, but I just want to make sure you're not selling those a little bit short, because at the end of the day, it's either these companies make their money or they go belly up. And, it's just, it's a very, very unfortunate reality.
Not just make money, make profit up the ass.
Yep. Yeah. And there are some of the crazy ones that have huge successes, but these companies, they don't know exactly how many copies these things are going to sell when they're released, when they have to establish what that price is. I think Helldivers is probably a great example where they probably could have played around with that price point a little bit more to kind of, whether it was less to try and get more people engaged or increase it to try and drive more front-end profit. I don't know, but they went with $40, and that is what it is. I wish companies played around with price points more. I wish that they explored and tried to really evaluate what the value of their product is and pass that to the consumer. Nick's shaking his head. I know. I'm shaking my head internally,
Expedition
too.
33 is going to eat you up.
I know it is. I know. I'm gonna regret saying what I said about that for a long time. But, it's just... It's just how it is. And so Nintendo's an interesting one because they do never drop their prices. So it hurts a lot more looking at an $80 price point from them as opposed to like a Miles Morales, right? Where it launched at $50, but if you waited 3 months, you can get it for $20, for $30. So Nintendo hurts a little bit extra because if you are a Nintendo fan and you want to play these games, Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be $70 for the next 3 years. I guarantee it. You might get a 20% off sale if you're lucky. So yeah, Freddie, I mean, definitely not disagreeing with you, but I do think it's just, it's
like, why not both?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
It's funny, we had that topic, will GTA 6 cost more than $70? And I think we ended on, we don't think it will. So let's revisit that question now.
100%. Is it $80? 100%. Yeah.
God, it's just so funny how quick the switch flips, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like one company does it and you're just like, your whole mind just gets shattered first, and you're angry, and then now it's acceptance.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be like, I would think more like GTA, I can see being easy 80. They can defend that till the cows come home and people will be like, yeah, whatever. It makes sense now. I'm more curious, like, what does like a Sony first party game do? right? Does Ghost of Yote, does that just cost $80 just cuz? Or does like Sony say, you know what, we're going to be hopefully a little consumer friendly. We're going to stick with $70. That's what we started at the generation with. They've only ever changed prices mid-generation, I do believe. Or I'm sorry, in between generations. So like from the PS2 to the PS3 is when we went to 60. I believe the PS4 to PS5 was kind of the start of 70. So we'll see. I don't know. I hope it's not just some snappy just whiplash effect across the industry where we all go, cool, we're all at 80 now, but
this fall.
Expect to see some companies embrace that because they can get away with it.
Death Stranding 2, was obviously announced before this, and pre-orders are out there, so it's a $70 game. But what is it? Yeah, what does post $80 Mario Kart look like when games are pre-orders are going live for Borderlands 4 and all the other and Metal Gear Solid Delta and the other big games of the fall?
Yeah.
Are they gonna go? Yeah, well, our pre-orders are up $80.
Yeah. One thing, too, about your email, Freddie, I think it has been confirmed that the $90 price point is not a thing, at least here in the United States, as of now.
Yeah, the GameStop pre-order page does not have any game at 90.
Yeah, so it has them all physical at 80. So I think, again, doesn't really help us in terms of this question, but, should be at least a little bit more if you're a physical guy. And if you're savvy, that is the also benefit of Nintendo games is that they do retain their value. So if you're not a guy that wants to just hold on to games forever, you can, pick up a Mario Kart, and I bet you that thing will probably sell back to GameStop for $40 for at least a while. Usually they're about, I know you could get $33 from like a Super Mario Odyssey, a Breath of the Wild type game. So like they're usually about half that you can get back for it. So,
and that's not even if you sell it on like yourself. Which
if you want to do a little bit more legwork, go on eBay. You can probably get 50-ish for that stuff. So, it's just tighten it up, man. It's not going to be just Nintendo stuff. Everything's going to get a little more costly, and so we have to make a little bit harder decisions with how we spend our money. And
I just had to buy a PlayStation 5 controller, and it was $80. So,
well, just take a page out of Nick's book here, guys, and embrace the indies like he has since he's been hanging around me more. Embrace the indies. Save some money and play some great games.
And like I said, I think subscription services are more appealing than ever. If game prices are going to keep rising for individual games, Game Pass and PlayStation Plus Extra, they look really good, and especially PlayStation Plus Extra got Blueprints and Hogwarts Legacy. That's huge.
I was thinking for a second because, Blueprints interests me, but it also strikes me as a game that I could easily buy and then just, no, that's not for me.
You're right.
Why not subscribe to Extra for a month? $17, I can check it out there, if it's something I really like. So it's like, you can get, or I know a lot of people subscribe to Ubisoft Plus to just play Assassin's Creed Shadows instead of buying the full thing. So, it sucks that we have to look at these kind of things to try and get our value, but, this is our life. This is our world. Welcome, bitch. Welcome to it.
I'm just gonna scream like Jesse. They can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah, I know. That's and just to, once again, Freddie, we're at least I don't know if Nick's on your side. Nick's he's a trader, so I don't know about him, but I'm on your side. I do believe that I don't want to pay these either, but it is what it is.
If Ghost of Yote is 80, are you buying?
I'm just kidding, Nick. You're not a trader. You looked at me like you actually offended you. Yes, I'm buying Ghost of Yote for 80.
Yes, and there you go. That's
yep.
And I understand that people hate that there are people that just said what you just said and what I'm saying here, and for Grand Theft Auto and all those big games, but it's just.
I've made
I make peace with it.
Yep, you have to find your line. My line is Sony first party, indie titles, or maybe a FromSoft game. And FromSoft. Yeah, well, with the exception, if it's not multiplayer focused.
I think John's not going to be a From Software boy in
Miyazaki confirmed to us that they have not lost sight of their single player focus, and I believe that, man. I have to. Yeah. So, but no, I mean, other than that, it's like, if it's not one of those things, I don't need it. I don't need it at launch.
And like you've accepted those those companies because they're proven, right? And that's the other thing the $80 price tag is going to do is if Clair Obscura Expedition 33 was $80, There's no way in hell I'm pre-ordering it. I'm waiting for the review, and I'm gonna be fine-combing that review to make sure it lines up with with my taste, and and even a little bit intergalactic. A new IP from Naughty Dog, great. But if you're gonna say $80,
I don't care what that that one I'm there.
Well, there you go. I mean, Witcher 4, same thing. But I'm saying, like, you at least have, like I said, you'll just have that doubt, right? You'll have that little bit of doubt that I'm not going to I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to push the Amazon pre-order or however you purchase games and just wait, because then they're just getting more expensive. That's the other downside of this. So,
yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Let's move on.
All
right, John. We're there.
Where are we? Where am I?
Completed Death Stranding.
Whoa! The wheel has been
I did it.
Put in its place. It only took 3 years.
Yeah. Oh, what, 2019?
Well, I mean, since we spun the wheel the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And told us to play this game.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm back on the Kojima train. I've been completing his game still. I finished the game then, rolled credits, and we'll kind of go through my overall thoughts here. And I'm going to line this up with pros, cons, and then like the
Kojima's?
interesting thing. I'm going to try not to repeat as much as we've already talked about the game, but definitely the pros is the gameplay, John. It really is. It's when you start
explain yourself.
When you start unlocking more of the things, more of the tools for traversal, and you're not burdened by. I still think that it sucks that ladders are a package on your back. I still think that sucks, but they give you more tools to freely move around more, and you're not as strapped. You're not carrying a 10-foot tall packages along your back and just awkwardly moving around. So that's a thing. They like provide you with what they call skeletons. So you can wear these legs that either boost speed, strength, or
so they're just exoskeletons.
Yeah, they're basically
Okay.
exoskeletons. Yeah, or traversal, like, and there's tools like that, and they have that cool Kojima future tech. I know it's not Kojima that does it. He has this artist that came over from Metal Gear that has done a lot of the art. That's why in the Death Stranding 2 trailer, it looks like Metal Gear Rex, so he's that stuff is great. The vehicles are great. They're
I got to do it because I know Will's screaming right now. Yoji Shinkawa.
There you go. Thank you.
Artist.
They help with the world, and the world is the right amount of difficult. Streams, rivers, large mountains, snowstorms later, timefall rain. These elements all just contribute to just not only the game looking gorgeous, but actually making the game fun to look at a river and be like, how am I going to tackle this? I'm gonna have to swim and wade myself through it and lose all my packages, or I can figure out a way. Maybe I make a bridge out of ladders, or maybe I install a zip line here, go to the other side, install another zip line, and boom, this river is no problem for me anymore. Or I spend a lot of resources and I just start rebuilding the world and creating roads again. And you can connect all the major cities in this with roads, and then it's nothing. You just drive everywhere. And that rebuilding thing includes what other players are putting into the world. And you have this kind of sense of accomplishment with these other porters that you never see, that you're kind of taking back a world that's been devastated by this post-apocalypse event. And it's beautiful in that way. What the world was when I entered it, and then the world when I'm going to delete the game, is completely different, and that's impressive. Speaking of Soulsborne, I know people like the messaging thing, but they really don't change the world. They just are funny messages and can lead you to secrets and stuff. But
Try finger butthole.
What?
That's like one of the go-to Souls messages. Try finger butthole. Stupid.
And so you have just that gameplay loop, and I think it's slow to start. You have to really get out of that first region that you quit in. For all those things, all those systems to kind of really kick off and let you free reign and conquer this environment. But then it's a Kojima game, and all the weird, quirky things. Like, going to a prepper shelter and being like, oh, it's Conan O'Brien. Oh, it's Jeff Keighley. It's all these all these celebrities that he knows. And I won't be lying. Like, that is a big part of Death Stranding, too. I know Timothée Chalamet is going to be in one of those prepper shelters.
Yeah.
Other big actors, Hunter Schafer, like Kojima Jordan Peele. Like, Jordan Peele will probably be a prepper shelter, right? Because they have this relationship for OD. That's a cool thing, and the game is full of those quirkinesses. You have the BB on your chest to help you detect BTs, but you can like rock it. You can just do a bunch of weird things. You can lay on the ground and stretch out to restore stamina. There's just those quirks in the game that Kojima games are known for. That just you can feel the touch. Like, yeah, Kojima. This has got to be a Kojima idea. It's too weird and too funny, but it works. It helps breathe life into this world, and there's just full of that stuff that has transferred since Metal Gear. But let's get into the negatives, John. And I don't think I've talked much about this, but the boss fights suck. The first,
fighting in general kind of sucks.
Right. It gets better as you get like assault rifles and tools. Okay. Like I mentioned, the sticky gun and weird things like that. You get a Ebola gun too, which I don't know.
A what gun?
Ebola gun.
Like the disease?
No, not Ebola.
Oh.
Ebola gun. It shoots the two like spinning balls attached by a string that you tie people up
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't know those were called bolas.
So you'll have these enemies called mules who'll try to steal your packages, and you start bowling them up, and they just are sitting there all strapped.
Okay. Ebola gun.
But but the game introduces like BTs and very, very large BTs, and they're just not fun to fight. There's just, you get a rocket launcher in this game. That's how ridiculously big these things are.
I've seen that one.
And they're just not good, because not only is a BT there, BTs produce like this black goop on the ground, and it's just like, imagine a boss fight where you're wading through waist high water. It's like
my video game nightmare.
Right.
Like, no.
It's not like playing a Bayonetta or a Devil May Cry. Yeah. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. It's funny too, considering that one of the number one strongest strengths of the Metal Gear series are the bosses.
Right. And even the human boss, the Clifford Unger, played by Mads Mikkelsen, where it is like a combat section where it turns the game into a third person shooter. It's just doesn't do anything special. It's it's a third person shooter against other military guys, and you just kind of chase him around the map until you down him enough times. But it's just, and it's a good mix-up from the stealth gameplay that the game usually is and the traversal gameplay, but just as combat goes, it's just, I've had better.
Yeah, I've had better.
And then the thing I've touched on before is just the exposition. This game ends on, feels like hours and hours of exposition, cutscene after cutscene, kind of Kojima explaining the game, explaining the big twists of the game that are just so out of left field that and using, when you go into like another world and they have a lot of verbiage and verbs and terms that are exclusive to that world, and then you deliver like a 3-hour exposition using all these new verbs and terms and all that and adjectives, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? It just makes it's harder for your head to wrap around, and I did find the two big twists at the end to be very underwhelming.
Okay.
So
okay.
So yeah, so you get through the Kojima stuff to get to the gameplay, basically, and you get to the boss fights to get to the gameplay. But I will say that this is a soft, like a freshman outing for this franchise, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming Kojima, now that he has the proof of concept and a very successful game, that they just announced. I think I helped them get to 20 million players, John.
Mm-hmm. You were 20.
I was number 20 million. That I think the appeal of the sequel will be those things refined, and hopefully like the criticisms leveraged at those items will be taken to heart, because it's weird that the game is so exposition heavy but has tons and tons of data. like as far as logs and interviews and optional things you can listen to, that it's crazy that it still had to have all that exposition.
You gotta get your money's worth from all those actors you hire.
And when I say like I ranked on this show my Metal Gear games, and number two is last because of the same problem. That game ends on just so much talking.
Well,
that it just drains you.
Well, I think the end of 4 is the longest cutscene in video game industry.
I love 4. I don't know why.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, 4 is a culmination, and it was and I'll admit that game is so fan service heavy because it's the culmination of the Metal Gear 1 through 3, kind of all coming together and being cameo heavy. That
is that a game you would replay if they all of a sudden PS5 here's before? Because you don't like to replay shit.
Yes, I just have not played that game in a while, and like I said, I kind of have this. I love that game. I still.
Yeah. So
I'd be curious what I felt going back to it.
Question about Death Stranding.
Sure.
How did you feel about the UI throughout your time? Because I that was one of my biggest. I hated the UI. The amount of like the little like symbols and little lines that go everywhere, and I can't see what I'm doing. It drove me nuts.
Yeah, I think if you're an impatient, I want to get things done, it sucks.
Okay.
And I'm a little bit in between that stuff, but no, every time you drop off packages and you have to go through the process of turning in your packages, which is like 4 different screens.
Yeah.
Recycling things, fabricating new equipment, replacement equipment. Okay, I'm accepting a new mission. Now I got to figure out where that fabricated equipment is going on my body. Do I need to retrieve a vehicle for this mission? Do I want to check other people's cargo that they left in a locker? Do I want to go to sleep and refill everything? Do I want to shower and pee?
You gotta pee.
And all that stuff. I think.
Okay, so it never got to the point where you're like, I don't even have to I could just do this by muscle memory and just go.
I mean, you have your routine, but no, it's not, and it doesn't make it go faster. But
okay,
it's just one of those things that I'm sure other people enjoy because it's like, ooh, I turned in a package and I got an S rank, and now my little star of traits is all going up and stuff like that. It's
definitely no Resident Evil inventory, man.
No. And then the hold X to confirm all the time that you have to do.
Yeah, can that go away? Can we get rid of that? Can we stop, or at least make that an option?
Yeah,
it's like I'm an experienced gamer. I know when I hit a button.
Yeah, but I think what they're really going for though is like that prepper mentality of I didn't really you have the ability to map your route on this 3D map. Like you can look at the 3D map and try and predict, hey, what's the best way to get this?
You don't have to do that. I feel like when I was playing, I was like, oh, I have to do this.
No, you do not have to do that. It helps because it puts like a line on your map, so you're like always in the right direction.
Okay.
And I will say with like the mountain area, especially, it's easy to get turned around in the blizzards and stuff. But I think the idea behind that is that you really are like, oh, I'm going to this spot and I don't have any roads or anything. I have to conquer this terrain. That I'm going to make sure I have all the equipment. I'm going to map out my route. I'm going to really get meticulous about that, and people probably enjoy that.
I mean, I love that shit in real life.
Right.
Like when I go climb mountains, it's fun to look at the map and be like, okay, we're going to go up this ridge, then we're going to go over here. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm curious now that this is a proof of concept and we were 2 months away from a sequel. Will Death Stranding 2 be the better game for you? Because maybe all those things that will get fixed, and the different environments and the more systems and the things that can happen, as we saw in that 10-minute Kojima trailer, that maybe that's the one you want to jump into.
Yeah, I mean, I have watched a story thing of this to try and understand it. I don't think it really matters anyway. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I do think that this sequel is going to be huge. I agree with you 100% on. Anytime in Kojima's history that he's able to iterate on things he's done, he improves it, or at the very least he changes it up in an interesting way. So I fully expect, we saw in the trailer that it's the first game, but more environments, more craziness, more enemies. So I would hope more fine-tuned controls, more different ways that you can play if you want to. Like ad nauseum, I like snappy, quick gameplay, and so if there's some sort of way that I can get the Death Stranding experience and also not feel like I am fighting a boss in waist deep sludge. That'd be great. Because like I'm a fickle boy, man. It doesn't take a lot for me to kind of go, this isn't worth my time, and so I really need to be hooked pretty quickly, which is why the first one, listening to you talk makes perfect sense. The first area is kind of the slowest part of the game. I've gotten that from a lot of people too. It's like once you get to chapter 3, it's great, but man, is it hard for me to get past that stuff. So okay.
Yeah, and even like my frustration point was the BTs, which are these invisible enemies that you have to stealth around. The options you get to like basically one shot kill them because you snuck up on them, that you get much later in the game. Like it just opens up things and the encounters become less cumbersome.
How many times throughout your playthrough did you how are the checkpoints? Is it pretty forgiving? Because it does seem maddening that it would be like, okay, I did this long thing and a BT gets you and you lose all your packages. I don't want to go back.
Yeah, if you're not willing to go back and get through the encounter and then collect your things and move on, you could be.
Because your packages can break, right, if they fall off.
Yeah, they take enough damage, they're fucked. But I don't think as long as you're not playing on the super hard difficulties, I don't think that's a thing you really need to worry about. And there are options. Like I said, you can get a better protective backpack. That you can start wearing badges on your backpack that kind of reduce things that cause damage.
Sure.
So.
Is this a platinumable game? Is this future platinum for Nick?
No. Like I said, if I did that to myself, the sequel I think would look less and less appealing to me. Right. So I want to go into that and not be like, oh, I just finished the first game and spent 120 hours.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to see another package ever in my life.
But and then the last thing, the interesting thing is, as we all know, Kojima, Norman Reedus, Guillermo del Toro, we're all working on a Silent Hill game. They 100% just put the ideas of that in this. I think the beach is 100% Silent Hill because it is a purgatory equivalent. And for certain people, it can be a battlefield like it is for Mads Mikkelsen's character. So I think they took a lot of ideas, a lot of the horror elements that they were looking to do, and with the BTs and about death and all those things, and bloop, just put it in this game. And that's where a lot of these concepts came from.
Yeah, I would say that's probably right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Still, should have got Silent Hills instead of Death Stranding, but that's okay.
Because what was her name? What was the
Leah Sadie.
in Silent Hill 2? The lady you're leading around.
Oh,
is it Maria?
Maria's your wife.
Okay. Well, yeah. What was her name?
Oh boy, I didn't expect that question. Just keep giggling into the microphone. Angela.
Yeah, that maybe
Angela. Or yeah,
no, Angela's not that one. Angela's
that one?
No, the one you're leading around with the choker that looks like your wife.
Oh,
that
Mary.
Okay.
Mary. Laura. Shit. I don't know. No, Laura's a little girl. It's Mary and Maria.
Okay.
That is it.
Okay. So Emily is almost like a perfect counter to that character in this game. So I think that they were like, oh, well, Konami's not going to let us make Silent Hills. Well, I'll just make my own game with traversal and climbing mechanics and steal all the big picture elements from what we were going to do with Silent Hills. So,
can I be honest about something real quick about Silent Hill? I feel like I just didn't get a lot of the story that I was supposed to. I'm reading about it's Maria is spoilers for Silent Hill 2. Please, if you want to play this game, just real quick. Maria is a sexualized manifestation of Mary based on an exotic dancer. She is the primary antagonist of this story. I never really felt that. She was just always just kind of I don't know, there. So, I don't know. I guess some things are lost upon me. Anyway.
Yeah, we can go into, even if you read all the Angela stuff, that's, fucking dark.
Yeah.
Man. If you, read into all her stuff. But, or even, what's his face?
Eddie.
Eddie. They're all not great.
No. Well, you're in Silent Hill for a reason.
Right. So yeah, I leave Death Stranding in a spot where I really enjoyed it. I like it a lot. It needs a lot less exposition, but really enjoyable. And yeah, I'm in for the sequel day one. I think that'll be really fun to experience that game. Just unburdened. Just experience it for the first time with everyone else.
Would you say Death Stranding was your biggest backlog game that was hanging over your shoulder, your head?
Probably. It'd be up there.
We need to find a new one now.
Yeah. No, I don't need one. I mean, it is. I already know it. It's Metaphor Refantasio.
Yeah, that's a big one. Maybe I can snag that from Will for you one of these days if you have it. I know it's not going to be for a couple months or at least.
We'll see.
Maybe like next winter.
Yeah, we'll see how this fall plays out, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I give the game an 8 out of 10. It is a good game, and I do think, like I said, Kojima's going to build on it, and I expect Death Stranding 2 to review very highly and be more lauded even more.
But not too highly, because it's in your fantasy league. And
I'm going to win, Jen.
I know. Nick drafted the blueprints like a jerk.
It's just the best reviewed game of the year so far.
I know it is. Luckily, you weren't at work. I didn't have to look at your stupid face.
Just the walking around, King of the Castle, King of the Castle, King of
Also, I blew Nick's mind with this earlier, but blueprints, like a blueprints of a mansion.
I think you have to explain what the game is.
This is a house and stuff.
Yeah,
there's
you build a house.
Yeah, you build a house. Blueprints.
But yeah, well, that I'll close the book there, and yeah, like I said, I'm
very nice. Well done.
Really, and I guess the one thing about the ending I did like the very, very ending, the stuff with the BB, which is Lou in the game. I did actually like where that is, and now that I know what that means for the trailer, which shows off the baby a lot, I'm kind of excited where that story goes. I think that element was interesting. I forgot about that.
I'm proud of you, man. Like you can get through games that you got a better getting through game thing than I do.
Well, I had to reevaluate that over the weekend, so that'll come up in my next game.
What have you been playing?
You'll find out, just like everyone else.
I do know. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, you can go up next.
We do mine? Okay,
I talked a lot here.
Mine will be quick. So I'm still working my way through Rebirth. I'm having a ton of fun. It's great. I'm not going to talk about that today because I'd rather talk about it once I finish it. But I got a couple demos I wanted to discuss here, Nick, which it seems like PlayStation's kind of upping their demo game a little bit, which I appreciate because there's lots of little experiences out there.
I think the developers are upping their demo.
All right,
game.
It's fair. That's fair.
I mean, there's a lot of games coming out, and yeah, demo might help.
Right, and honestly, like at least one of these was one I was really hoping to get my hands on. But I want to first talk really quickly about an upcoming Metroidvania game called. Well, hold on, I need the full title because I only. Pipistrello and the Cursed Yoyo, which is a retro style looking kind of think. I don't know what's a good comparison, Nick, to like an art style. It's like a GBA, maybe like a Game Boy Advance kind of style.
NES game,
Super Nintendo. Looking,
I'd say NES, man. Those are some big pixels.
It's old looking, but it has a lot of modern tendencies. So again, Metroidvania, you play as this bat creature that uses a yo-yo as a weapon, and he's able to shoot it out, but it also has a lot of extra properties to it, right? Like a lot of these, you're kind of going room to room. You enter a room, there's going to be a series of enemies in there. You can just attack the enemies head on if you want, but if you can notice any angles in the room, right? A lot of the room is kind of designed geometrically, so if you throw your yo-yo at an angle, it'll kind of bounce off that. If it hits another angle, it bounces off of that, and all of a sudden your yo-yo is 1,000 feet long, and it's pretty cool when you have the enemies lined up in sequence and things like that. Pretty kind of cool from a combat standpoint. Talking through it with Nick, and I'll let Nick kind of speak for himself. This is a game meant for retro fans, people that when you're looking at a game or a gameplay experience, you're not really too bothered by the way that it looks. I think it definitely is very retro, but I think there's a lot of detail that's kind of hidden in some of the character models, and it is stuff that I appreciate, but that is something that if you just can't vibe with a certain look to a game, it might turn you off. But in the little bit of experience that I had with it, it took about 20 minutes to get through the whole demo. The game kind of showed me a couple things. It showed me that I think the combat is pretty cool. Like, it's simple at its core, but with the Metroidvania hook, and there's like a leveling up system, hopefully there's a lot of different things and abilities you can use to kind of fine tune the way you want to play and use the geometry of the area effectively. I thought that some of the writing, it's got that cute thing going on where it's like you have a grandmother or a mom or your caretaker that kind of gets, I think she's more than she seems, right? She gets turned into, you're able to use her as like this creature that kind of goes around with you, and he's kind of a smart ass to her and tells little jokes and things like that. So I found the writing to be kind of cute and at least something. I think of a game like The Messenger, right? Like The Messenger is, I think, a great game. And maybe that's actually a really good comparison to this one, where it's like it looks old, but it plays pretty modern. But the writing is very good in that one, where like you'll generally have laugh out loud moments, especially with the shopkeeper. I'm not saying this is going to be on that level, but you can tell that they're trying to do it. And so I think it's going to be $20. It comes out May 28th to pretty much all platforms. And I think if you're a fan of these kind of games, if you like Metroidvanias, if you like just your standard retro action games, give it a check out. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, you summed up my opinion.
I did. I know.
Playing with the yo-yo is fun. It is the feedback I think you get when you're doing, like you said, when you can line up those enemies and then throw the yo-yo out and it's just bouncing all over the place and extending out. Is a great loop. It's just the game that I just can't vibe with for the art and the more simpler gameplay, but it has its audience.
I think I think this will be like I'm guessing mid 8s, upper 8s when it's all said and done. I think the people who like these kind of things are going to see a lot to love with it. So make sure you check that out.
And they probably need to workshop that name.
Yeah, that's like, it's one that I just want to call it Pipistrello. Like, you just drop the N, the curse yo-yo. You can just call it Pipistrello. That's fine. Pipistrello does mean bat in Italian, so I don't know if these developers are Italian or what, but that is the reason for that specific name. Also, don't call it a yo-yo-vania. Like, just don't get cute with that kind of, like, that's silly. Reminds me of Yoku's Island Express. Do you remember that game?
No.
It was like a pinball Metroidvania. It was actually a really good game. I beat it. But yeah, a little too cute by half. But the other demo that Nick and I both checked out was an upcoming game for PlayStation, Metal Eden. This is a game developed by Raycon Games, coming out May 6th, so about a month away from launch. It kind of, we saw it at I don't remember if it was a State of Play or if it was
at the last State of Play.
State of Play. So, it's the one, it looks a lot like Ghost Runner, if you're familiar with that, which is the fast-paced, like, cyber ninja game where you're going through and chopping a bunch of enemies really quickly. It looks to be kind of taking a lot of inspiration from that, but this has guns involved, and we were able to get our hands on it. I guess we'll just jump right into it. I think it's a game that has a decent amount of things going for them, but a lot of glaring issues that they need to fix. Or maybe they're not going to have time to fix, and it is going to be what it is. But I think it's got a great art style. The graphics are very clean. You go into this world, and like, your gun looks dope. It's got a lot of, like, wetness and kind of...
What genre does it look like?
Cyberpunk.
What?
It looks like Returnal. It looks like the Returnal genre. No, it looks very cyberpunk.
I did
but
get
more
futuristic.
like brief Returnal vibes playing it.
Yeah, but I think it's a little more futuristic than Cyberpunk. It's like if Cyberpunk and space had a baby.
Right.
But yeah, you're going through. You load into this. You have a standard gun that has unlimited ammo, where you're able to kind of blast away. I didn't complete the demo because I had enough of my taste with it, but like, you're able to collect more guns. You have a gun wheel, so you can kind of alternate between different, guns that I think are going to fit different scenarios. Those other guns are going to have ammunition attached to them, so you have to be a little bit specific with what you're doing. But you also have your standard melee attack, which, if you're low on health, you can melee an enemy. Depending how low your health is, you have a higher % chance to gain health back if you're like at super low, such and such. And then you also have this ability to rip out enemy cores. So if you have a gauge or a meter high enough, you can press L1 on specific enemies. I don't believe it's all of them. Rip their core out, and then either use that as a projectile that you can throw at other enemies that explodes, or you can absorb it to load yourself with a super punch, which some enemies have these green shields enabled that the only way you can get through those is either to hit them with a standard melee and it lowers their shield for like half a second and you can get a little damage in, or you can super punch them and get rid of it entirely. So I think that at its core, it's kind of a cool concept. Problem is, it's not running well at all.
No.
And they need to fine-tune some of the controls. I loaded into this experience and I shot my gun and immediately I went, ooh, I'm going to like this. And then very quickly I go, there's a lot of here that we need to tweak. It kind of feels like the developers are maybe mouse and keyboard people first, and like I don't know, maybe just didn't design it perfectly around the controller, because there's a lot of moments where I was like, it's a fast game, right? And there's enemies coming at me, I'm trying to dodge and do all this other stuff, and like an enemy was like behind me, maybe to my like 7 o'clock, and I like had to turn and get to him, and it's a slow turn, and I was like, okay, can I increase the speed of this?
Yeah,
and
I heard that complaint a lot.
And then there's some term that the community was using. It's called aim acceleration, which is a kind of it's really hard to get fine tuned with where you want to shoot, right? Like I did you get that pistol gun that operated more as like a hand cannon?
Yes.
And like more like a one shot thing. I couldn't fucking hit people with that thing.
Really?
I mean, like I would eventually, but I was just like, I want to be snappy and quick and get to where I'm. And like I wasted a lot of ammunition.
Sure.
So. Those are kind of, I guess, my high-level thoughts. What did you kind of think of your little time with it?
I think, I think there's a lot of good ideas here. Like I think you said, performance is a big one that they got to fix. But the loop of doing a bunch of linear sections, getting in an arena, I think a big driver of this game is enemy identification, because, like as you mentioned, you said you can't rip the core out. You can rip the core out of anything. You just have to do the right conditions to get them vulnerable to rip out the core. And so I think, it's a fast-paced game. You'll be in these arenas, and it'll just be like wave one comes through, and you'll be surrounded by enemies. You'll be running around. You have a double jump and air dash. So the game is definitely going to be really fast when you're probably in that groove, just doing a loop around the map and just, like I said, identifying an enemy, dodging enemy attacks. There's a lot of potential for speed runs and guys just going crazy in there and messing everything up.
In there.
So I definitely see the appeal. It just it felt off a lot. I felt it didn't feel like it had games like that. Just have to feel so good. Mm-hmm. Like they really do. That just has to happen. That's why Returnal is an amazing game, because you'll never make a mistake because of the controls. Here I was making tons of mistakes because of the controls.
Good point. Love that point.
And I mean, they have a month to fix it. That's not in the likely corner, but
maybe if they just need to add like controller like settings. I feel like I'm looking on, people are saying there's the dead zone's too big, you can't fix that. The aim acceleration can't fix that. So, if they can they need to have people be able to fine tune the experience the way they want it.
Give it games all have life after launch, of course. And so maybe after a couple patches, this game might do a lot better. But I think out of the gate, if you were to ask me, it's not going to review well. It'll be another 70 game.
It's probably high 70s. I was looking at Raycon. They made the game Ruiner, which came out in 2017. I don't really remember it. I thought I had a different game in my head when I went to look it up, and it's like this top-down isometric thing. So it's not what I was thinking of. But that came in at 77. So they're an Eastern European developer. Eurojank, maybe. That's a term some people throw around sometimes. But I was excited for it. It's probably, I'm glad I got to play the demo, so I know that I'm not going to stick with it. And but check it out. Demo doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, I actually wish listed it just to keep it on my radar, and now after the demo I was like, nope.
Nope.
So, but there's a demo on pretty much every platform it's coming out on. So, check it out if that interests you.
Cool. All right, Nick. What game did you drop like a sack of potatoes?
It's All right. Well, first of all, the game is going to be RoboCop Rogue City. But before we get into that, John, I know you love to talk about movies.
Oh, boy.
And you just saw RoboCop
I did.
for the first time.
I did.
Like-
About a month ago, probably.
which is insane. Again, RoboCop 1987 action movie of the time, of course, in the same line as Terminator, is
Rambo.
Yep, Rambo.
Predator.
Yeah, Predator. Yeah, kind of that 80s action movie. And yeah, John, you saw it for the first time.
Yeah.
So what did you think?
I thought it was fun. Well, why are you laughing?
Just the way the tone of your voice changed. I thought it was fun.
It's fun watching all those people get murdered mercilessly. No, yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good time. I've seen so many movies nowadays that like ultra violence and things like that don't hit the way I think that a lot of movies intend them to, right? Like RoboCop was known as being brutal when it came out, right?
Yes.
Like there's the famous scene with the big robot that just destroys that studio or CEO executive guy.
Right.
So a lot of those like kind of things didn't really land with me because I've seen,
Right.
Hostile
I
and
think
stuff like that,
it was
but-
just it was a part of the time, right? It
For
was
sure.
it was like being edgy. Like all those movies you just mentioned were the same way.
Yeah.
Just
But the movie had a fun cadence, right? Like especially once the character of RoboCop is established. I don't think we need to worry about spoilers here, but I won't give spoilers anyway. But once he is RoboCop, it was fun watching him go and just beat the fuck out of bad guys. Just because he's a robot. Good luck. So
shoots that guy in the dick.
he does shoot that guy in the dick, and from what I've heard in this game, you can also shoot guys in the dick.
You can, yeah. You can. We'll talk about it more, but the game sticks to the ultra violence. The amount of hands I've blown off to see the guy go, "Oh, my hand!" and
Yeah.
that's
Fan
a lot.
servicey. but I also thought it's a very by the numbers 80s movie. Spoiler: the 80s are not my favorite time period for film. I think I just don't think a lot of it translates well today.
No,
humor and things like that.
And the technology limitations and
Right.
and sets weren't like they are now,
right.
and stuff. There's some standouts,
But it's cool. It's cool.
Right. You got the thing.
Yeah, no, there's a definite example. Like some of my Aliens, one of my favorite movies. Aliens is great. There's definite stuff in there, but it's a movie that I finished and I was happy I watched it, but I also was not upset that it took me this long to get to, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so RoboCop Rogue City is a video game that came out in 2023, currently sitting at a 73 on OpenCritic, developed by Taeyon. I don't know what else they've named.
Taeyon and Raycon. They did that Terminator Salvation shooter too. Like
Oh,
that's
wow.
like this is their bread and butter is like AA licensed properties.
Okay. So I guess just starting off, and this is a first-person shooter, is they nailed the feeling of being RoboCop. Peter Weller's back doing the voice. You had to have that happen. Your character walks with that thud that RoboCop has, and then you have the iconic pistol, right? That weird it's like a shoots in 3-round burst pistol. And then, they keep you, and then the violence they capture as well. Like you said, you can shoot guys in the groin. You shoot guys in the heads. Their heads just explode.
No. You shoot guys in the dick. All right, you don't shoot guys in the groin.
And the scanning too. You in the movie you get a lot of that first person camera, and RoboCop his camera is like this bright lime green, and it highlights enemies and notices points of weakness, and it's red on the screen. And then all the side characters, his partner, the police chief, and the police station itself are all like so faithfully recreated. And the game itself is very pretty. It looks very good. You have some moments where you're walking just along the streets of Detroit, and there's ray tracing and reflections of water, and it looks good from like an environmental standpoint. The character models look terrible.
Okay.
They look really bad. Yeah, like laughingly bad. And you get that right from the start. The enemies, you do side quests in this. The side characters, it's all just yikes. This is a a B game, right?
Yeah.
Like this is not no AAA, $300 million budget game, but. And then they kind of mix it up. You do have the option to make choices. You get the typical Fallout, he liked that, or he's going to remember that kind of stuff. And some of that, I think it's very light. There's not like the different ending to the game or anything like that. I don't think, anyway. I did not complete this game because what you get right in the beginning when you're walking through, you're stopping a gang that took over a newsroom, basically, is the whole game. I mean, you're just shooting and shooting and shooting, and I asked John how many people he killed in a video game. You kill so many people in this game. RoboCop, his body count is very high. That
sorry, it just triggered something in my brain. I actually looked up that after we podcast. I was like, what are some like big kill number video games? And then people were like, well, in Mass Effect, you can kill an entire galaxy or something. It's like, all right, I guess if we're talking about that. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I guess you're not directly killing them. You don't see them.
I didn't pull the trigger. Well, I guess I didn't have to stare them in the eyes.
So and like I said, you're RoboCop. You get a dash, but you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. You pick up so much evidence, like loose wallets and loose purses. It does this cute thing where when you're walking the city of Detroit, you can, this car is parked in front of a fire hydrant. I can give them a ticket. But that mechanic just wears out its welcome as well, because you're constantly revisiting the police station, the same area of Detroit and all that. But I mean, if you're a big fan of the movies, great, that might get you through it. But between the terrible character models and then the just that basic loop of like, okay, I'm back to just killing guys. Up in the next room, there's 6 guys. I'm shooting them or punching them.
How many times does he say, "Dead or alive, you're coming with me"?
Quite a bit. And then it has this whole mystery behind it, and it's just not good.
Sure.
But I don't know. Yeah, if you're a RoboCop fan, this is as good as it's gonna get. I think they did a great job faithfully recreating it. It's just as John mentioned, I rewatched RoboCop while playing this game and was like, yeah, that's a game or a movie.
It's not bad. It's not. They probably shouldn't have made RoboCop 2 and RoboCop 3 and RoboCop 4 and RoboCop 5, but how long to beat has it listed at 11 and a half hours? That does seem a little lengthy for a standard shooter that you're just kind of doing monotonous stuff. Maybe like a 7-hour game. This was a cheaper game, right?
Probably was. Like I said, it was free.
Yeah.
I was probably pretty far. I got 8 hours in before I don't know. I just had like...
what's the point? Why would I? If I'm not going, you're not going for the platinum. You're not.
Oh, it wasn't. It's an easy platinum too. So that's another thing. Like you can beat you get the platinum in one playthrough. So that was kind of driving me. But sometimes I don't know. Like I played quite a bit of games this year, but I have not gotten that. Like I haven't really played that game that really gets me excited, like Astrobot did last year and stuff like that. And then again, just you think about time, right? And your time on this earth, and it's like,
we're getting philosophical.
Do I want to really do I want I can play this game for 4 hours more, and I have a platinum, but I'm not going to enjoy it.
It would literally be more worth my while right now if I just went and meal prepped for the week.
Right.
I'll just go do that.
Right. And so like what I'm getting to is eventually I'm hate playing this game.
Yeah.
I decided just like what I wouldn't do when I was younger is just, I'm got it. And now I'm just like, nah, I can't do it.
Good for you.
I'll do anything else. Will like I said, when you leave an activity that you're doing in your free time for fun, And if you feel like shit afterwards, like what the fuck, dude? Like,
Yes, sir.
stop.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so yeah, I can't do it anymore. It's a decent game, like I said, really faithful recreation, but the loop is just ugh. And what else is RoboCop going to do?
Nick gives those titties 4 thumbs down.
And yeah, we'll get on this briefly on. Well, I can briefly just. I know that we're not a Marvel Rivals podcast.
Oh, boy.
Anymore, but god damn it, did Marvel Rivals have to? Well, last week have to do all the things that suck. The new character is an X-Men.
Oh, suck in your personal world of hell.
It's Emma Frost. So. All the perv artwork is going to go up for Emma Frost.
Okay.
And then the whole second season is X-Men themed. And not only is it X-Men themed, it's my favorite era of X-Men themed. So the battle pass is all X-Men themed.
You're gonna be so annoying as a friend for the next couple of years. You know that.
Why?
Because they're gearing up for the movies. The reason they're doing all this now is because the movies are gonna now do all this, and it's just gonna be annoying.
Well, give them their
They're probably
credit.
gonna get X-Men shows on Marvel Disney and blah, blah, blah.
I'm not going to play it, John. I'm still on that
Okay.
thing that I'm not still on that kick that I will not go back to Marvel Rivals.
Good.
But like I said, they just had to like hit what I wanted from it immediately. So
Who is Emma? I've never heard of her. Is she a newer X-Men?
no. She was in
Is she in the
Days
animated
of-
show?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
She's in she's played by January Jones in Days
So
of
she's a
Future
bad guy?
Or what's that?
So
Yeah, she's a
she's-
bad guy.
Oh, okay.
Technically. Well, in current comics, she's a good guy.
Well,
but
in all comics, everybody's both a good guy and a bad guy
Yeah.
at some point, depending on the timeline.
she's consistently been a good guy now.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
yeah, she's a telepath who can make her skin diamond,
right,
and she's blonde and wears the most skimpiest outfits. So
as you do.
yeah, and she will launch 1,000 skins on Marvel Rivals. So
Sorry, it's the heat of 1,000 suns.
so yeah, I'm like I got a kudos to NetEase. You know, they could have just kept jumping on the MCU stuff, and they started with Fantastic Four, which I know that is coming to the MCU, but they're not the big thing that they could be coming up here.
Yeah.
And then the next thing being X-Men. It's cool. I hand it to him.
I do wonder if the Fantastic Four, like if Pedro Pascal cannot make Mr. Fantastic a popular character, nobody like you guys need to leave because like not to divert into superhero talk, but like they are just the most boring group of superheroes there is. Like I don't know what it is about them, but they're so boring. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know why we
the
keep
one
trying
thing
to go
about
back to the Fantastic Four. It's
Reed
like
Richards and Mr. Fantastic is that character is typically an asshole. He's like smart.
He's like so he's an Iron Man.
Yeah, but even more assholey than Spider-Man because he's not like he doesn't have that the wit.
Oh, okay.
Of that.
So he's just a dick.
Yeah, he's just an extremely smart dick. So, so if Pedro can pull that part off, that would at least help that character differentiate itself from being another super smart character. Oh, Peter Parker super smart, Iron Man super smart.
Yeah.
That just is full.
Hulk super smart.
And even all the side characters in the MCU that are super smart as well.
Where's the super dumb one? Who's the dumbest? Who's the dumbest?
They're probably all the Thunderbolts characters.
Sure. David Harbour's character.
Yeah, Red Guardian.
Yeah, who's the dumbest person that engaged in the Endgame fight?
Groot, maybe.
Nah.
Maybe he's deep though.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
Rocket, he's really smart.
I
Peter
knew
Quill.
the season was ending, but then like all of a sudden like it was just like popping up in my feed of like, oh, here's the new character. Oh, here's the new season. Here's the new battle pass, and I was like, and here's the new map, and I'm like, oh fuck,
You bastards.
why do this to me? So yeah, I just at least had to touch on that as I'm trying my best to avoid it for the same reasons as RoboCop.
Yeah. Well, good for you.
Good for you.
It's probably Peter Quill. It's probably Peter Quill. He's pretty.
Yeah,
he's
he
pretty
is
dumb.
pretty.
He's
Yeah.
pretty dumb.
Yeah, he's pretty dumb, but he's got the heart.
Yeah.
But all right, cool. That was Man, that was a show.
Yeah, that was a long one. I need to go home.
So yeah, we can get into the teases. Some big news items.
There's literally no news topics we had for this one either.
Hey, when we get in the podcast studio, John, it's
true.
You can't get us to shut up.
Enter that flow state.
Yeah. By next episode, we'll see the reveal of Bungie's marathon.
Yeah.
We're gonna actually see what that extraction shooter is, and
it's not gonna be for me, but I'm very curious to see what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, just as we know, PlayStation's live service initiatives. This is the one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is the one that's got to hit. So yeah, we'll see. It's April 12th. It's planning a big reveal. So
maybe it'll finally make back that $3 billion they spent on Bungie.
They could use that hit. They could use that hit. So, I know we're not. Are you? I know you. You're at least curious.
A little bi-curious. About what?
About marathon, but obviously not a game that
I'm curious. Yeah, I mean, if it comes out, if it looks like it does, and I mean, if it's free to play, I'd try it. But like, I don't think there's a world that they can show me something where I would be like ready to buy a copy of it. Unless if they're like, look, we have this awesome suite of multiplayer stuff, and like also there's like a Halo style campaign here too that maybe they're working on. I don't know, but probably not.
Yeah. And I don't have much experience with extraction shooters, so it's at least the game type I'm not entirely familiar with, but we'll see. But on top of that, by next episode, John, we'll have seen the first episode of The Last of Us season 2. I'm going to say part 2, but The Last of Us Last of Us season 2 is premiering on HBO April 13th, so that show will be kicking off, and we will definitely figure out a way to talk about it on this show.
Remind me, I know I've asked this on the show, I know you've probably told me 4 times, and I'm sorry in advance, but did we do specific episodes for each episode last year?
Yes, we did.
Or 2 years ago?
It was like the permanent last thing during the season.
So we didn't have specific, we didn't like, okay. It was always the permanent last thing. Got it.
And then we finished on a spoiler cast.
Got it.
So
right,
the whole season.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's very, very exciting. You know, again, not just for seeing the recreations of the pivotal moments of the game, but we were talking earlier today about the Bill the Bill episode.
Not on the strawberries.
The Bill episode and how that was one of the best episodes of television in general, not just of a show, and that did not take place in the game. So we'll see if they can somehow find that magic.
Just Nick Offerman's giggle when he eats the strawberries is so good. But also imagine eating a strawberry for the first time after like that.
You're right.
Like, holy shit.
But other than that, from the game side, John, do you or anything? I guess I don't know. Do you have anything else to tease for the next show?
No. I did start playing this really obscure game on Switch that I bought a couple of years ago that I might just discuss for a second. But listen, when I'm laying in bed and I'm tired, but I'm not that tired, I'm gonna turn on my Switch
and bring a game out of left field.
Yeah, I mean I've only put 15 minutes back into it, but I just have a couple thoughts, and so I don't know. Maybe if it hooks me more. The game's called Vernal Edge for anybody who wants to go look. It's like the most obscure game ever that I've played, but it's an 88 on OpenCritic, and I can't find a goddamn walkthrough anywhere online. It's crazy. But no, I have no other teases.
All right.
Besides that giant tease.
Yeah, speaking of the best reviewed game of the year, Blueprints, I'll at least check it out. I'm going to give it a shot. Maybe it'll be like Return of Obra Dinn or Outer Wilds or RoboCop. Yeah. I just don't vibe with it, but Outer Wilds and Obra Dinn, which are also 2 extremely well reviewed puzzle games, I just couldn't do it all.
Yeah, this one's a roguelike.
Yeah, so we'll see. A lot of people are saying if you didn't like those games, this one will get you. So hopefully it'll just be that one.
Okay.
But also, weirdly, this time of year, every year is an indie game that comes to the subscription services that is like extremely well reviewed. You know, it was like Animal Well this time last year. So
They probably have some sort of like data on most people's shit renews like shortly after or something, so they want to make sure that like there's a reason
very
to.
possible.
Yeah.
So all right, yeah, we'll have a lot to talk about next show. All right,
Hell yeah.
that leads us to the song in celebration of continuing to finish Kojima games. We're gonna go with a Metal Gear 20 years history song called Past, Present, and Future. It just takes all the themes of all the Metal Gear games and makes it into one massive song. So if you stick all the way through it, impressive. It's 14 minutes long.
Wow. This one's not long enough, Nick.
I thought it was going to be shorter.
Yeah.
All right. And that is by Norihiko Hibino. So enjoy.
Cool.
All right. So again, as always, we thank you for listening. We love you. Please write in and let us know your thoughts between the joysticks@gmail.com. And we will see you next week with Up to 6 Things. Bye, guys.
See you.